Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment. I'm Michiel Sujit. Around here, we slow down. Through honest conversations with aspiring, impact-driven female founders, we sit with the turning points, the inner shifts, the quiet recalibrations behind every chapter that's actually changing. If what used to feel like ambition is starting to feel like a little noise, and what feels like alignment is asking for more space, these stories will meet you there. Clarity isn't found alone. It begins within and moves outward, one real conversation at a time. Let's step into this together. What if the truth you're searching for isn't something you need to figure out, but something your body has been trying to tell you all along? In this episode, I sat down with Claudia Kratzheller, founder of Body-Linguistics, and someone who helps people return to themselves through the quiet intelligence of the body. We explored what it means to move with fear instead of waiting for it to disappear, how the body can become a compass when the mind keeps searching, and the shift from control into allowing. We spoke about the tension of being fully human inside systems that don't always feel safe for vulnerability, and the challenge of holding both analytical strength and emotional depth without losing either. She named it simply: when you relearn to listen to your body, the truth is evident. And this state, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to move while fear is present. Let's take a breath and begin.
Let's go.
Welcome, Claudia Kratzheller. Did I pronounce it right?
You did.
Oh, luckily. Welcome to Journeys of Empowerment.
Very beautiful, and I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Maybe interesting to where did we meet? Because that's an interesting one. Where did we meet?
Exactly. Thanks for pointing back. It was very surprising in the Vondelpark in Amsterdam. It was a beautiful spring day, and I followed the sound of a hang drum of music. And I went like, let's see where that leads. And then first there was a beautiful flowery field. A friend of mine was actually playing. And then I looked around, I listened, and then I saw you sitting there with a lady.
Yeah, Elisa Fiot, she's organizational psychologist, and I had to walk the talk with her.
Ah, okay, yes. So I saw you there, and I was like, Michiel.
Yeah.
And often, I don't think, my body leads me. And then I went straight up to you and said, "Hey, Michiel, let's meet." Yeah. And he was like...
Yeah, I was so surprised because you said also, "Hey, Michiel, you from the podcast." And Elisa and I were looking at each other. Oh, this is getting interesting. I'm sitting in the park, in the Vondelpark in Amsterdam, getting recognized.
You can't be anonymous anymore.
But no, that's No, it was interesting. And it right away clicked. And right away clicked. So, Claudia, the aim of the podcast is shortly looking into the future, then going deep into our personal journey, and figuring out how that all is aligned with our personal journey, with who we are, why we're doing what we're doing, who do we aspire to become, see where the connection is. And we can always only in hindsight connect the dots. And I'm always very curious what's there in the undercurrent awaiting to be shared with a broader audience. So, are you ready?
I am.
Okay, so the first question is, looking at the future, who do you aspire to become?
That's a beautiful question. Who do I aspire to become? I would love to spread my mission, have a team around me that is very strong, very devoted, and motivated in the bigger mission, that there is collaboration that is transparent, and that I can be a role model for people, and together with my allies and my team, to live what's true for you, bridge differences, challenge people, and that contributes actually to more understanding and more authenticity, and hopefully also that systems get influenced and can be changed.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And if you have to choose the one thing, what you mentioned, that's closest by heart, because it's system changing, maybe as a result,
Mm-hmm.
but also you mentioned other things. What is closest by your heart?
Closest to my heart is that you notice what is true for you. Because that is very different for many people. But that is true for you, and that you don't hide, and to formulate it positively, that you stand for it and that you can share that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That comes from something, somewhere, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
So before we dive in, we're going to share our mutual agreed theme of our conversation based upon our prep call, and it became courageous inner-led expression. Courageous inner-led expression. Before we go deep into our journey, your journey, can you a little bit unpack what do you mean by courageous inner-led expression, and why is it important?
Yeah, courageous inner-led expression. When we had our pre-call, we came to that subject, and it was about courage versus fear. Because everybody, me included, we have fears, we have anxiety, things that have happened that might first think like, oh, alarm bells, red flags, da-da-da. And to see that, notice it, but then move anyway. And that is when the fear, in my understanding, transforms to courage. And that, and those courageous steps, and they can be very small, they can compound, and then change evolves and actually happens.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what do we mean by inner-led?
Inner-led, I strongly believe that your body is a magnificent tool for connection, for leadership, for sensitivity, authenticity. And when you learn or relearn, let me correct myself here, to listen to what your body tells you, then the truth is evident. And that is, it sounds also easy, but it's quite a process.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And you deliberately rephrased it from learning to relearning. And why so?
Because when we were born, we are complete. We're perfect. I mean, I very careful when to choose the word perfect, because nature is perfect. And that's why when you're born, you are perfect. You are complete, and then things happen, and then you get shaped, you get influenced. Trauma can happen, and education, socialization, all that, which is all for the good, but along the journey often hurts or violations happen, and then you need to calibrate with your body what is useful for me now, what is a protection mechanism, and how do I use that? How do I live with it? And also, how does it help me, in fact? Yeah. So to come back, I mean, the inner-led expression, I see it as a dynamic balance, because some people, in my work, I speak a lot about interoception and exteroception. Interoception is everything you feel inside of the body. It's your heartbeat, it is what you feel in your stomach, if you feel anything from your organs. Your thoughts also, feelings. And exteroception is all the stimulation that comes outside from the environment. And as we are a living organism, there is a constant calibration happening between what's happening inside and outside. Often we are not aware of that. It's quite unconscious. But when you zoom in on that and sensitize that, you can use it also for your truth.
For me, the concept of sensitizing is very clear, but maybe elaborate a little bit more for also a beautiful audience. What do we mean by sensitizing?
You walk in the street, there's sounds, there's cars passing by, there can be a motorcycle passing by, you hear the wind, all things that are connected to sensory input. When you hear a voice that is very soothing, when you hear a voice that makes your nervous system like, I'm safe. When you hear a voice that is, for instance, very high, or is very crackly, or is or very, very commanding, it depends. Then immediately there are responses in your nervous system.
That triggers something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So the theme for today in our conversation will be courageous inner-led expression. I have one question before we dive in again. You've mentioned the mission. Is for you your mission? So in your introduction, who do you aspire to become? And then you mentioned that you are on a mission. Do you already have a sort of clear mission for yourself?
I do. What would you like to hear in terms of the steps, or in terms of the...
sort of the mission in which also you would love to build a team and to tap into, so the sort of northern star of your company, because that was the way you started off, and then for the people you would love to help, is there a sort of theme or sort of mission, really a sort of one-line mission, or is it more a feeling? What do you mean by mission?
The next further steps will be that I can speak, and not only speak, but interact and experience with people this intelligence of the body, and this encouragement and empowerment. Voice is part of that.
Yes.
And body awareness is part of that. And that it can become clearer for them what are their next steps to expand, to grow, and to make their changes. And currently I am a one-woman company. I have sometimes an assistant. I work together with various organizations. What I would love is that there is a constant partnership with, for instance, one or maximum two organizations there where I can team up with and do what I'm best at.
We will circle back to what you're doing right now, and but before we do that, we deep dive now into your journey to help me, us, everyone understand, okay, Claudia, who is Claudia, and where does she come from, where did it all begin, which, challenges she had to overcome, ultimately that led you to who you are becoming, and also why you're doing what you're doing, and why do you love that so much, why do you care so much about helping people in this specific area. So we will circle back. So again, the theme, courageous inner-led expression. If we look back and pause and reflect on your personal journey, what are the earliest experiences on the path that led you to this theme? From early childhood until here, what are the big inflection points, if you will?
The earliest experiences.
Conscious or unconscious?
Okay. Ching. Let me think for a moment. Well, it's not that early, but when I was like a teenager, I moved, I danced, and I loved that because I could feel through movement, I could fully express myself. I could fully connect also to other people. And also, recognition is also a part of it. I could be seen. I could feel I don't have to hold back. And I could be free. And that actually paved my choice for later. Yes, that's one part. And
maybe
in relation to other people, I see now, maybe I'm leaping ahead too far, that many people box themselves in. They try to fit in, or they don't try to be too loud or too expressive. And I think like, gosh, that's such a shame, because then you dial yourself down. Of course, it's always good to look at why. What is the motivation? Why do you do what you do? I mean, we have that in common, because you feel you're also very much like digging. What is the origin of what motivates you to do what you do?
So let's do that. Allow me to do that in our journey also.
Yes.
Let's go further back. Let's go right away at the beginning.
All right.
Because I think we can learn a lot from the early start. The start of your life.
All right. Then we go there.
And there's also a very relatable personal experience for myself. I know we have shared that downstairs while sharing an artwork which is expressing the sort of what we share. So let's help people to understand. Okay, this is too abstract. What do they mean?
Okay, thank you, Michiel, because I tend to become abstract.
No problem.
So the early start starts before I was born even. I mean, my personal story is that I'm the youngest daughter of 3, and my father died in an accident. He was a veterinarian. I didn't plan this.
It's okay.
And my mother was pregnant with me. That shaped me. That shaped me a lot. It took me a while to understand that there might be a relation. And I did a lot of inner work, of understanding what happened there, why I felt what I felt, and to realize that there is a deep, deep sadness, and I don't want to indulge or go deeper into it, but that I felt there is this sense of grief that actually did not belong so much to me, but I felt it. And to make sense of that, I mean, and making sense doesn't capture really what it is, but I think the word is more to embrace that, to embrace the situation, to love my mother, to actually at her funeral, the circle was round. I'm not sure if you go into that now, because let's not go there. But for me, it made sense because I honored her. I love her. I am deeply grateful. And I managed to also there speak. I held a speech in the church to speak to everyone, even though they were very, very different people. I've come from a small village where there's a lot of connection, cohesion, of course also opinions, but that is everywhere. And it was a beautiful moment. It felt like like an honor and a rounding. Yeah.
How does it feel to talk about it?
Oof, it's a bit scary. I feel my stomach a bit. I feel vulnerable, and yeah, that's how it feels.
First of all, thank you very much for sharing.
Thanks.
And what I've noticed in a lot of conversations is that we as humans walk with so much in our undercurrent, feelings, thoughts, doubt, loss, grief, trauma, and everything which we are unconscious of or conscious of, but we don't like to talk about it. But when we do, it's almost magic. There are so many people reaching out after hearing a conversation towards each other based upon the conversations, because somewhere they feel we are related to each other, and it makes us relatable in our story. Although we are unique with our own unique experiences,
Yes.
yet we're not alone.
That's beautifully said. And indeed, it's like there's this saying, like, the cracks is where the light comes in. And also exactly because people usually don't talk about it. It's also, it's a protection mechanism. Is it appropriate? Will they understand me? Other people might feel responsible. Ooh, what do I have to do with this now? And that is often where the daddle dance comes in. And when you reach actually a connection where you can, like we do now, put something on the table that is incredibly vulnerable, and it can just be received, be listened to, without the responsibility of like fixing it or doing something about it. Because I think then there is already a much more compassionate opening.
Agree fully. So what I came to understand about early childhood loss, even before you are born, is that it is there, it is real, it is stored. As so the loss of your father before you even were born, he's your father. He lives inside of you. And
yes, definitely.
The loss is real, but you were a baby. What I came to understand also via the studies of the body keeps a score, and that it's stored in the implicit memory, and it has an impact on your central nervous system and on your neural pathways, and you don't have any speech for it. You feel something, but you can't put it in words. I always put it in words until I started to understand that it feels like a sort of gravity is always trying to pull me a little bit down that for me it feels like and I am a very driven upward person as a person. The inherited life force of my mother is really inside of me that I can feel, but also the loss. And the loss, if I have to explain it in some sort of concept that we understand, is a sort of gravitational pull. So although I have the inherited life force of my mother, which I tend to believe, which I not tend to believe, which I believe, came to believe, I also felt the sort of loss of her and being given away as a baby. It feels like a sort of gravitational pull, and I was like, where does that come from? Try to get your head around that one. It's impossible until we understand. Okay, what are the elements that made an impression, although it was stored in your implicit memory and unconscious, so in our undercurrent. But it steered my thoughts, behavior, doubts, fears, and everything without being very aware where does it come from.
Right.
So, having said that, when did you become more conscious about the effects of born with that sort of loss? Because you're a baby starting to figure out life and developing a sense of self and so forth and so on. But when did it become conscious for you?
Interesting and difficult question. When did it become conscious for me? I can't really remember. It's like I always felt I was a bit different than my sisters, of course, because they are they and I am me. It's a hard one to answer. I wrote a lot, I drew a lot, I danced a lot. I had compulsive disorders where I felt like, where does that come from? And my mother said, "Oh, you're so difficult." And I was like, I'm me. I mean, like, well, what can I do? So, I think it sort of went through my early childhood, teenage years. And I always liked to be by myself. I didn't like team sports. I didn't play volleyball or handball like my sisters did. I went on long hikes, long singular bike journeys. And I was very much also retreating a bit into my imagination. And I hated, where people are to come together and are loud and festivities. And I remember, it was like, no. So I made a big shift when I was, 14, 15, 16, somehow. And I can't remember what happened. But something there turned that I was more like, outgoing and not so much like, introspective. Yes.
When did you start dancing?
When I was 24. So that's very late.
So that's not very late, but it's 10 years after the realization, becoming more outward focused or more extrovert versus introvert.
Yeah, and I have to say for classical ballet standards, it would be almost impossible. But I started at 24 because I did a tailoring apprenticeship before. I can craft beautiful garments and stuff and construct patterns and things. And I started, when I completed all that and finished it, even though it was bloody hard and I really didn't enjoy it, but I completed that, and then I thought, like, I still want to dance. And then I said, like, hey, let's do that. And I went to Amsterdam and applied for the audition, actually for the shorter program. There are a 2-year program and a 4-year program. And everything fell into place. I was immediately accepted. I got housing. Everything was like, yes, come. And I was like, okay, let's do that then. So I was 24. Just wonder if I do a side, because, yeah, that's the answer to your question.
Well, you can elaborate. You were 24, then you began.
Yeah, but I couldn't start on time because I had an operation before. I had an operation where I actually needed long recovery. So I started late my studies, which, and we come in a different country, the whole different thing. It was quite a challenge, but I managed really well. And also, to socialize, to get to that freedom. And I remember in the beginning, I was like, wow, what are all these people? I mean, I feel like I had in my mind, I'm very, very like discerning and sometimes also quite judgmental person, but I see it and then I can decide what to do with it. There's like all these different people. I mean, in my mind, you should be a dancer in a certain way. And in Amsterdam, in the study School for New Dance Development, it's to become an explorational, creative dance artist. It was not conform and dance in the corps de ballet. It was very much independent, rebellious, courageous, creative. And for me,
which suits you. Which suits
me. But at the time when I was there, I was, because of the tailoring apprenticeship, I was very much used to, you start something, you have a linear way to do it, and then it's finished. And this creative process was something completely different. I was ready to work and sweat and really work out hard.
If then. Yes. The next step.
And then, and the approach there was very, very different. It was very gentle and very soft and very open. And I wrote a scriptsy afterwards, after the 2 years. And just yesterday, I put it open and I read something which immediately actually still applies to today. It was fascinating.
And it is?
That's, one teacher said, you approach things to be accomplished and done well. Mm-hmm. And you have a very strong, pliable body. But see how it makes you feel. See how it makes you feel, and to express more. And there were some technical things to change. And I was like, okay, yeah, I see that. That, some challenges, they keep coming back. And to refer, I feel I'm losing the thread a bit, but to surrender to a creative process where you don't know yet where it leads.
Such is life.
Exactly. That's the bridge to life. And also, if we link back to here and now, sometimes you know where you want to be, but the exact steps, they might be not quite figured out yet.
That's an interesting one. Do you know where you want to be? Do you really know where you want to be? That's interesting.
Where I want to be. I'm here right now.
That's
right. The perfect place.
That's right.
Yeah.
Luckily you are. But do you know where you want to go?
You asked me that question before. Yeah, I want. Actually, I'm really good where I am, and I want to have all the tools that I have in me, in my disposal. I want them out. I want them that people, that I can give them to people, and that they can use them in their way. And that might still again sound abstract, because often that's okay. So and it's about really using your voice, really using your body, and really knowing what drives you, and find the people around you that can amplify that.
Let's unpack the concept of knowing for you.
Great. Let's go.
Because I hear it quite often in our conversation, knowing. What do you mean by knowing? Mm-hmm. When do we know what? What do we know? And what is knowing for you?
Aha, I love the question. What is knowing for me? It's an intuitive sense that something is there. And it is, it's a felt sense. And some people might know the term. For the people who don't, it's an intuitive, visceral feeling in your body that it's kloppt, that something is right.
It stimmt.
Es stimmt. Es stimmt, exactly. And there is knowledge, and I do this with my hand because it's next to my head, that is cognitive knowledge, that is more the discerning of, or that's data, or experiences, or
facts.
Could be also facts or conditioning. And I'm a strong proclaimer of, that they need to work together. I do this movement, that that you use what you know, from your brain, and what your body, and I do this movement now, tells you as well, and that they are in a seamless connection with each other. And that is what I burn for. It's like, and I get really like this when I say it.
I see it in your eyes.
Yeah.
So having an understanding, more understanding about the concept of knowing. Mm-hmm. So now looking back at before you became 14, there was a transition. Before that, you explained that you were more introvert than extrovert. Mm-hmm. And then around 14, 15, 16, something shifted, something changed, and helped you to become more extrovert. Mm-hmm. Then 10 years later, around 24, for some reason you decided to go for dancing, professional dancing. Mm-hmm. If you look back, what is there to know? What is there to learn about those two big jumps from introvert to extrovert, from fashion, garments, enthusiast and professional turning into a professional dancer? What is there to know?
What is there to know? I hear actually two aspects in your question. One is what I hear is what sparked that transition.
Yes, very good.
Right?
Yeah.
That's actually the question, isn't it?
Maybe.
I
don't know.
I like that. What sparked it? I think I wasn't so conscious at that moment. It was more like, an intuitive felt sense that I need to do this. And not so much. It's interesting. Many people on my journey, do I say many? Several, I correct, told me, Claudia, look at the places that you don't know yet. And I feel I go off a bit on a tangent. So, because my mind is very strong and analytical, and my body is very intuitive and knowing and sensing. And who has the lead is quite fluid. And I relate that also to, and now I open another chapter here, to masculine and feminine energies inside of every body. So that strong analytical knowing, I'm doing this, I go on that track, I do A, B, C, D, E to get to C, is that is more the masculine energy, and I have that quite prominent. And the feminine is more nurturing, perceiving, caring, abiding in being, and sensual, caring as well, and also being very comfortable in that not knowing. So, and relating that back to the body, and now it gets a bit more, your body has systems, bones, muscles, blood, nerves, lymph. And all those systems, they have a certain function in the body, but they also have qualities. And they are corresponding to this masculine and feminine as well. And I see you like, doing this. So this is more the architecture of the body intelligence.
For the audience, I'm zooming in. So
Yes.
I'm focusing more. I'm getting
Alright.
more and more interested in where we are heading towards the explanation of our body. And then, so I'm learning. This is my learning phase. Observing and learning.
All right. So to elaborate a bit more on that, if you just see your body, the skeleton, that's the structure. But if you have the muscles around it, the muscles are more to get into motion and action, and the nervous system, of course, is for energy and information transmission. And then you have the fascial system, bindweefsel. Wessel van der Kolk works a lot with that as well. And all body practitioners also, because recent studies have shown that in this system, there's a lot of memory stored. And that it's not just an undervalued something in your body, but it is very, very important for well-being and health, but also for emotional well-being.
Why so?
Because the fascial system is that what connects everything with everything. And if you put that in a bigger range, these are the connection that is the transmitter between the various systems. And I like to make connections. If I see that if we leave the body and we go to society, if there is a glue that is connecting everything with everything, and you trust that, you come to a whole different intelligence. I give you an example. When I do my morning practice, which speaks also to all the systems in my body, it is a meditative state. It's also physical, but when I do that, and I speak also to the connective tissue in my body, I get ideas. I get insights. It's as if my radio station opens and I'm perceptive to things. Insights come that I've never thought about, I never knew before. And it is magic. And it also might sound abstract, but I know it's real.
What does it bring you?
It makes me centered. It makes me grounded. I feel ready. That when I have completed that, I'm in my full capacity, and I'm ready to serve.
And is it a specific ritual what you have to do to get into that sort of flow state, or whatever we want to name it?
Yes.
So maybe because I'm really interested. What is for you a process that works?
It is a ritual. Call it routine, call it whatever, and it's very much on the floor. I call it the pelvic grounding matrix. I made it into a system that I can also share with other people, and it is breath work. It is very slow, fine-tuned movement. There is also strengthening, and there is also meditation in the end. It's like the best of various different disciplines that are put together, and
so sort of holistic.
Yes, it's a holistic
process.
Body
it's not one thing. It's multiple things which helps you to get in that sort of stage, right?
Yeah, it's a cocktail.
Beautiful. Now, what I've noticed, and that's why I'm so interested, is that before we started our recording, I said, "Hey, I do breath work. So what helps me is I'm a former Marine, so box breathing helps me really before I have to do something which is of high stakes and I feel a little bit tension. I'm like, okay, how can I become even more present before we start XYZ? So I've asked you the same question, and what I find very fascinating is that you lay down on the ground. And you right away sensed that the ground, it's an big old house, and you were lying in the home studio on the floor, and you right away felt when you were lying on the floor that there was a sort of little bit, in Dutch we say scheef. How do you say a little bit? The floor was a little bit lower.
It wasn't even,
It wasn't even. It wasn't even, but you felt that the moment you laid your back on the ground.
Exactly.
And it was a sort of calibration.
Exactly, yeah.
You mentioned something about calibration, right?
Yes, because the body inside has proprioceptors, and that is these are the cells that tell your body where your body is in space, and you can fine-tune the ability to get the information from these proprioceptors. That was exactly what was happening on the floor. I feel like, oops, it goes to that side, and why that is so fascinating is that you can also use it. I mean, I'm a dancer. And you worked in the Marines, so it's very physical. Yeah. But to feel like, what information do I get from my body in the space where I'm in? And that I notice these slight differences is, I can't help it. I feel that.
Yeah, it was really right away. You right away.
No, but I see that. I have laser beams in my eyes. When I worked with that company, we did a lot of gentle adjustments for people to show them their habits. If they have the head to one side, if the shoulders are up, if the hands are tight, if the knees are locked and things, and I see that immediately. But it's hard to switch it off because sometimes you can't use that information. When I walk in the street and I see, hey, this is that, and the head is crunched, but there's a lot of information. And to feel like, okay, what is useful in this moment? What do I take?
Becoming conscious and making conscious challenge yourself with some provocative questions that makes you aware, okay, but how does it help me at this, or how does it serve me at this time? Right?
Exactly, and it can be very instrumental as well. Like when I'm in a conversation, or you mentioned to make yourself ready for a high stake meeting. Yeah. To feel, how can I be grounded, calm, and ready for anything? And now I have, a while ago I talked with my son. I have a son who is 20. He will be 22 soon. And he studies law, and he's also boxing. And I dance tango. And they seem to be completely unrelated, but they're not.
No, they're not. It's movement.
It's movement, body to body. Yeah. And it's basically being ready for communication, maybe confrontation, and in any moment.
Yeah, but also attunement.
And attunement, yes.
Also attunement.
Exactly. Like, but the thing is to practice and be very sensitive again to what are, when to pivot, when to come with, when to maybe pause. And when you're in connection with your body, you can be able to do that, especially in high stake or when things are moving very fast. But you can only do that if you've trained before and if you've practiced. And there is a consistency in that. And what you mentioned with the box breathing and with the, it is a ritual, and I call it's like lovemaking with the body to be ready for hard times. So that I have and I know it works for me, this pelvic grounding matrix. I want people to have a ritual that works for them and that they commit to it and that they devote to it. And it helps when it's pleasurable. Yeah. Because if you are like, you have to do that because otherwise, doesn't work.
No.
It's actually terrible.
You know, but with the box breathing, it's interesting because if I say I have to do it 10 times, it gets annoying. Because sometimes I don't need 10 times.
Exactly.
And then after the third time, I'm like, I really have to do it 7 times? And then it gets the opposite of what you want to achieve,
it
right?
Gets counterproductive.
It gets counterproductive.
Yeah.
But so I let that one go and just the 4 in, 4... And that's for me the relaxing part. Before we go further, you've had a professional dancing career. Mm-hmm. But also, when did you start? When did you start entering the corporate space?
Right, I started. When did I start? I think it was 2008. Yeah.
So after how many years did you do professional dancing?
25 something years. So I stopped my dancing career when it was really done and when I felt like time for something else. And 4 years later, I started to enter the corporate world. Yeah.
What did you learn most about yourself in those 25 years of dancing?
What did I learn most about myself? What dancing has taught me, let's put it basically, huh? Mm-hmm. It's actually different than what you asked. What I learned about myself, to answer your question precisely, is I can rely on my body. It's my best ally. And it's also not so much the technique. The technique is great as a tool. But then to throw it away or to really feel like what is the motion, the mission and the passion of what I can transmit. So that is, and because for a long time in my professional career, I was a technique freak. I was a form fetishist of I taught professional dancers for a long time. And the sequences were long and they were intricate and they were complicated and it was upside down and changing levels. So challenging, especially, the dancers who can do almost anything with their body, really to the max. And sometimes I realized when I stopped dancing for a while and I came back and I did my sequences again, it's like, oh man, this is complicated. Sort of feel like, why?
It's practice.
It's practice. But then there was a time where I felt like, it's not so necessary to make it so complicated. And that's when I shifted to yoga, in fact. Because I also was a yoga teacher for ages. And I use the yoga, and that's part of my practice now, but I extracted the bits. And there I noticed the essence of a move, and it's not a posture. It's always a state of being. And that helped actually very much for the corporate world. Because I noticed these people, the managers who led big companies, they also did sports, they worked out, and but they were mainly living in their heads. But they, to make them more aware, and that's an assumption. Because when they were in off-pressure situations, and also in on-pressure situations, of course, you are your body. But sometimes you are so into a tunnel vision that you don't see all the beauty around anymore. And that's where I come in. That's where I can bring the magic. And what I also learned, I deviate, but when I worked with the corporate companies, people are people, independent what your position is, what the status is, what your salary is, and and that is what I find, and that is a core pillar of my work. That when you know, that there is a bridge independent of status, position, and things. And the systems, sometimes they can be very straining. I mean, I do this movement. And that's why I'm on to the change.
You mentioned change. What do you mean by change? What is the change you would love to see, or the shift, or the change? What change do you mean?
That, for instance, I take a very tangible example. At the moment, I teach bodywork to a corporate client. And we talked in the last session, and he said in his company, it is not appreciated if you really show vulnerability. Managers don't really know what to do with it. And
also, that's human. It's not about the managers, it's human.
Thank you. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We find it also difficult, let's be honest, to be vulnerable.
True.
We just did.
True.
And also for us, although we starting to trust each other, we know each other, it's in a podcast, what might people think, and all those kind of things.
Yes.
It is, of course, in our personal situation also very relevant. Vulnerable. How vulnerable do I want to be? How open do I want to be?
Exactly.
What would people think? Opinions, obligations, expectations. What is going?
True. Yeah.
And yet, we're only human.
Yeah. That's very true. And I don't mean it as a reproach, but I meant it more like to point out that in a position or in a system when you're vulnerable, and it's not really clear how that can be met, that there is work to do. Yeah.
And what kind of work? Before we go further, I think something came up also in our previous call, and that is underneath all the topics we've spoken about. There is somewhere a deeper question, and that question pops up, and I want to ask it in the conversation because it really hit the nerve inside of me. I thought, hey, this is interesting. So how do you stay connected to your own inner knowing strongly enough that you can live it, speak it, and let yourself be fully seen? So again, how do you stay connected to your inner knowing strongly enough that you can live it, speak it, and let yourself be fully seen? Because there, in and on itself, that question, that's also allowing yourself to be vulnerable, right? Because otherwise, how do we stay connected to our own inner knowing strongly enough that you can live it, speak it, and let yourself be fully seen?
Thanks. I come back to the body. How do I stay connected? There are actually various ways. One is to maintain that self-care routine, the ritual. I prefer to call it ritual than routine, because that gives me, it brings me to my base, to my grounding, and to my confidence. Confidence is something else. And to go out and meet people, both the ones that are encouraging or that can feel like an exchange, and especially people who have a completely different background, different opinions, different way of seeing things. And my rooting and grounding in the body enables me to be open and to maintain in connection, especially with people that are very different from me, or very, challenging maybe. So, and voice, breath and voice, and that's also a big, big part.
Voice. A big part
of being connected to the inner knowing. Yeah. Is that a stretch?
No, the inner knowing is very fascinating, right? What is there to know about our inner? It's a lifelong search.
It
I
is,
believe,
yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
As you probably know, I'm a vivid reader. I love to read a lot of books, and the more I read, the more I come to understand how little we think we know, and also about ourselves.
Yes.
And books help for me are sort of resonating mirrors. And I'm like, this is resonating. This is the body is telling something, but I wasn't conscious about it. And we don't know what we don't know, right? So it's
exactly,
it's very fascinating to dive into that. And,
I love that. We don't know what we don't know.
No.
Yeah.
What do you think you don't know what you don't know?
I don't know. I mean, the other thing, I was like, my blind spot is my blind spot because it's my blind spot. And that's why I need other people to point out my blind spot. That's, and the not knowing, that's an interesting one. So, there's always this story of the fish coming. Maybe you've heard that story with the fish. Have you?
Yeah, but I have to dig in my memory, but maybe...
No, it's a very simple, that you have this saying of like two fish, they swim in the water, and one fish says to the other fish, how's the water? And the other one says like, which water?
Yeah.
So you are not aware
noticing it.
Yeah, noticing it. What where you're in, or what you know, or what you don't know. Then
turn it around. Then let me ask the question.
Yes, please.
What is something recently you figured out and started knowing, which you didn't thought about or knew before?
What is something I started doing or
now you started knowing about yourself,
about myself,
which you before that didn't know. So, but very recently, what's the discovery very recently? What's the most recent discovery?
Yeah. I don't know if it's so recent, but I really have to dig for that. What I discovered lately is, this question of vulnerability, for a long time, and it's a self-protection mechanism, I chose like where I want to be, how vulnerable. But that's also a sense of control, or a sense of perceived control. And that I can't control that in certain situations, as happened now here before. That is relatively new territory, or things that I maybe knew before, but I go there now. And
I believe for everything is a timing, right?
Completely.
To receive and to become more open for it.
And also with in terms of judgment, I said before, I am a quite judgmental person, and I don't hide it. But to realize that, and to actually, I preach being curious, and I also live it in many, many moments. And sometimes, and especially the moments that you can't predict, it's like, hey, what can I be curious about a very maybe uncomfortable situation? So that is what I'm also discovering new.
And maybe also practicing more.
And practicing more, yeah.
Because I believe it's about being open for it, but also practice.
Completely, yeah. Practice, yeah.
It's often also a sort of defensive mechanism, right? That we, when we step into the unknown, that we think something to have an opinion about something which feels like, okay, this is very unknown, yet we have an opinion. And I'm always questioning about why do I have an opinion about something I didn't know before? Where is then my opinion based upon? And why do I form an opinion? And why do I even need that? And what's to learn behind that?
Yes.
What's driving that opinion? And an opinion, you can only starting to form a sort of informed opinion when you start inquiring information and observe from different perspectives and angles and start asking questions, right? But sometimes we skip that whole process and are like, okay, I find this very XYZ. I find this very strange. And I love when we're standing in a museum. And then I'm always observing people. I'm really observing people because I needed to learn through their eyes to see much more than what I saw at first when I was looking at a painting. I saw a painting, and I'm addicted to people and observing people. I love observing people. So I became curious about the behavior and the act of people, and I'm like, why are they looking so focused and so as if that's interesting to only a painting? And that's where my fascinating started with becoming more and more interested in different forms also of art. A friend of mine is also helping me with that. The same friend who gave me the artwork, which is standing downstairs in the progress room, which you saw. The legs of the ballerina, the ballet dancer you saw. There's so much more to see than just legs. You see a much more the detail of the muscles. You see but you have to start really looking. So I thought, this is interesting. Okay, swipe, until I became curious. Why are people so interested in looking so deeply to, in my opinion, was just a painting, was just a picture. That's fascinating, right?
It is.
So, of course, I'm also opinionated. And yet, I think a lot of people think that will say, Michiel's very curious. But it's a practice.
It is. It is, indeed. And what you mentioned before about art and how to look at something. And I hear in your words, in fact, you look at the art, but you look at the people looking at the art.
I find that fascinating.
And that is very fascinating because then through the curiosity you can try to grapple like what is going on with them.
And what perspective are they seeing what I'm missing?
Yes.
And what am I missing?
And also, that is so subjective. And here is where the super interesting part comes, like, why do they see what they see?
Exactly.
And then
it's
interesting. Yesterday I walked through the park, through the Vondel Park, and there was a huge tree, and there was a hole in the tree behind. And just above that hole was a silver thingy, like it looked like a sculpture. And I was like, okay, I go there and see what that is. Why is it there? Does it have a purpose? I was curious, so I said like, interesting shape. And I took it, and it looked as if somebody really made quite some effort to produce this thing and also put it there. And I saw immediately, I don't know, I had made a story in my head. I said like, I take this. And I thought, do I throw this now, or what do I do with it? And then 2 people came passing by who were also on their afternoon walk. And I looked at them, and I like to talk people just randomly. It's like, hey, I just found this. What do you think it is? And the guy looked at it. Yeah, it lijkt op een fietskrat. And I was like, and the woman was she looked puzzled, and she wasn't even bothered to answer. And I said like, well, it could be art. And then the guy was more like, yeah, we could decide it is art. And then I looked back at him. I was like, that's right. You can just make the decision. This is art, or maybe it's garbage. But what you see in it is your own choice. And I still hold the thing. So I kept walking with that thing and thought, I'm going to find a new place for it, where it's, where it's meaningful and has a good place. And I really took some walks until I felt like this is the spot. Now I put it here. I didn't want to throw it away.
No.
And then I placed it down on some, trunk and thought, this is cool. Maybe at some point someone else finds it, maybe not. But this small interaction, and that's also what I love, and I have them actually quite often with people that I've never met before, to have short, bouncy interactions about something. And sometimes they can be superficial, but sometimes they can be also quite deep. Because I love to go deep and I hate chit-chat, basically. Which I also know sometimes it serves a purpose. I came to learn that.
Yeah, neither. I find it still find it difficult to stand on the schoolyard waiting for my daughter, and then the schoolyard chit chat, and I'm like, oh, I really have to work hard to think about the chit chat question, right? So and it's not about it's more on me than whoever, but I find it very difficult. I really love to go right away deep into, hey, who are you and why you're doing what you're doing?
Yes.
What is bothering you? What was the last book you've read? What was the last learning you've discovered? And hey, while we're moving forward, there's also something. I hear courage in your journey. I hear inner work in your journey. Yeah? So courageous inner-led expression is throughout your whole journey, is weaved in everything what you do. And and there's also some other interesting thing you did, and I'm curious about that one, because there is a sort of, what I hear, it's a personal thing what I hear, so you can right away jump in. Michiel, I don't agree. It's my personal opinion. What I hear is that over time you have learned to allow, on the one hand, the linear-driven process, a little bit control-driven you, to be alongside, also together with the more holistic, more sensitive, more feeling, more intuitive part inside of you. Yet I can believe that isn't the easy thing. There was or is a struggle. How do you deal with that, with both sides? Because some people are really blue, green, strict, process-driven business systems processes, or they are red and yellow and really fire and really. You have both in one, but is there a sort of balance, or is there a struggle?
I see it more as a balance.
Now?
Yeah, now.
Okay, what and in the past, how was it for you?
In the past, it was more of a struggle, but that's, It's, to come to terms with the best of what you have inside, when you have a brilliant brain and a great, strong analytical mind, it's fantastic. Use it. And when you have a very sensitive inner world, and also a sensitive body, or, like high sensitivity, use it. And
but what if you have both?
That's what I mean. I mean, they are connected. They are not separate. It's also what I meant with the masculine and the feminine energies, all this discussion of feminism and the new masculinity, and I'm making a big leap now.
Yeah, no problem.
But it's I see, gosh, people, can't you see that what you have inside is enabling you to be magnificent with each other, and it's beyond role models and the LGBT community. I see many people. other themselves rather than to see what do we have in common. And also relating back to your question, was it a struggle or is it more a balance? And I feel that this is what we need, to see like there are differences there, but to see it can help you. And I see now, I'm making often jumps, and I've been I try to work on it, but it's quite hard sometimes to make understand what I believe, and come back on your question. I don't see it so much as a struggle. If you have someone with a brilliant brain who is very cognitive driven, and I believe that everybody is also deeply emotional, but sometimes you might have pushed that away a bit, or only let it out when it's safe, or only with the people that you feel like, that's my selected tribe, here I share it. To accept that.
Beautiful word. The word I had in mind is allowing.
Is allowing.
Allowing it to be both.
Yeah. Allowing it both to be.
Accept and allowing it. Instead of fighting it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Be a human being and not a human doing. Right?
Voila. Yeah.
Voila. All right, we're heading a little bit towards the end of our conversation, and we touched upon so many things, from grief, inner growth, hard work, professional dancing, entering the corporate space, helping a lot of managers. There's one thing. This is an interesting part. What did stepping into a TED Talk learn the most about yourself? And because I know the rigid process of a TED Talk, to be there and to get the most value out of it. Chris Anderson made very sure that every team has the same sort of principles behind it. So globally, so job well done. What did you learn the most about that process, and where did your TED Talk was about?
What did I learn most about it? I learned that having a structure that is very strong and guided can be a great guideline to express actually what you, in your uniqueness, have to say. And that in that structure is actually where you can blossom and bring out your freedom. The second part of the question, could you repeat it?
What did you learn the most about yourself? And also, what was your TED Talk about?
It will be.
It will be.
It will be, to be very honest. It will be about the body as compass of connection.
Oh, beautiful.
And the inner knowing, which is actually that thread that we have here.
Yeah.
The inner knowing that is inherent in everybody, independent of your culture, your race, your upbringing,
your
and
salary,
also your age and your salary.
Yeah, and your role in the company, but
your
doesn't
role
matter.
In the company, and that actually to rely on that wisdom and the integrity of your body enables you to communicate with whoever you have in front of you. And there is also a token of awareness that I will bring in. That is, it's one part of my company that I developed. It's almost 10 years ago, and that is to stand in your center, to stand in your potential, and do that any moment.
If people listen to our conversation, what would be the sort of questions they are walking around with about themselves? They feel right away that this is the timing to reach out to you. What would be their questions they have?
The questions they have would be, how can I have more impact? How can I use my voice in a way that is authentic and comfortable and very clear and connected to your mission and your heart?
So there we bring it back to courageous inner-led expression.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Claudia, I would love to thank you for our conversation. Is there one question you thought I'm going to ask and I didn't ask? Maybe a little check. Or you hoped for that we dove in more? I don't know.
I was blank page. I mean, we had a thorough preparation, but then, I go in and I trust that anything that needs to be said will be said, and I feel we did.
I would love to also thank you very much for the vulnerable part at the beginning of our conversation. It wasn't planned. It wasn't. But I truly am grateful that you've shared that. By that also it gives you a more a glimpse of who you are and what for you are impactful events and in your life, right?
Thank you for acknowledging that. And thank you for us having this conversation here now.
Thank you very much. We will see each other quite sometimes because our paths crossing on multiple female-led or women-led events and gatherings.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. If something in this conversation met you in a quiet place, a sentence, a silence, a moment of recognition, that's not coincidence. These stories carry ripples. Pass this episode on to someone whose chapter feels like it's turning. Follow Journeys of Empowerment so the next conversation finds you when it's meant to. And if the pull toward more clarity, direction and alignment is starting to feel less like an idea and more like a calling, there's a quiet space called the Clarity Intensified track. An open door for when the timing is yours. Until next time, keep going, keep becoming you.